What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
You're listening to Booth Talk from the After Movie Diner, and on this episode we're incredibly happy to have Scott Spiegel. He's the writer of Evil Dead 2. He's the writer of The Rookie, directed and starring Clint Eastwood. He has also got a fantastic new DVD collection out of some early Super 8 shorts that he made with the likes of Bruce Campbell, Josh Becker, Sam Raimi, and more. We have an absolutely fantastic conversation for the next hour, all about that stuff, about how he introduced Lawrence Bender to Quentin Tarantino, all about working with Bruce Campbell and Tom Sullivan and on the Evil Dead 2 and The Rookie and Tales of Hollywood, and we even get into how Pam Grier touched my beard. It's all here right now on this fantastic interview. I don't want to wait any longer. Here is the one, the only, the legendary Mr. Scott Spiegel. Hello, is this Mr. Spiegel?
Yeah, this is he.
Hey, how are you doing, Scott? This is Jon Cross again from the After Movie Diner.
Oh, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's 7:30. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, sir. And yourself?
Oh, excellent.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the After Movie Diner, and we're all thrilled, all us Evil Dead fans and Michigan Mafia fans, with your current project, the Super 8 Shorts. So as they are at the start of your career, let's begin there. What, to the uninitiated, are the Super 8 Shorts?
I guess just shorts I did with Bill Ward and Matt Taylor, and very shortly thereafter, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi. And we were just knucklehead kids doing Three Stooges comedy ripoffs, you know, just because slapstick is great when you've got Super 8 silent film. What are you going to do, right?
Right.
You're not going to do a Hamlet. We're not going to, it's not going to do that.
Yeah.
And in fact, we started out using kind of a chalkboard, like an old silent movie, and then we just dispensed with that. And just would tape the Three Stooges off afternoon TV. And we used to learn how, it was like we were pioneers in a weird way, only in the sense, pioneers may not be the best term, but we were kind of, it must have been like 100 years earlier when everybody was just figuring it out. Okay, they had the film existed. Now, how do we make a movie and, put that on screen,
Right.
And, all the early movies looked very stodgy. Actually, you know what? I lied. All the silent movies had so much energy that they became stage-bound and stodgy when sound came in.
Right.
That's what's so hilarious, because you see some of those incredible earlier silent Laurel and Hardys and all the Glenn Keaton and Chap, all the greats, and that stuff is, it's amazing visually.
It's fantastic.
Be that as it may, that's what we were kind of doing, and we even had sound to go with our silent movies on a reel-to-reel tape recorder that looked almost identical to the Evil Dead tape recorder.
Right.
And that's how we taped them, the Stooges off TV. And then, of course, very shortly thereafter, 73, 74, somewhere about around late 73, cassette tapes all of a sudden suddenly appeared. Really, it's weird. It's like I'm talking about the Stone Age, man, in a way I am. But it's just like that was a big deal, because oh, great, I can get a tape recorder for $9, and cassette tapes were, $1 for 3 or 60-minute cassette audio tapes. And there you have it. But so clumsily, kind of, we just kind of, did our thing, and really like 1976. And by that time, Sam and Bruce, we were all collaborating, co-directing, co-writing, co-starring. that we met up with a famous person, Tommy Smothers, who discovered everybody from Rob Reiner to Steve Martin, and he was part of the Smothers Brothers. Bruce Campbell was assisting him in some sense on a summer stock up in Traverse City at the Cherry County Playhouse in the summer of '76, and Bruce Campbell said, "Hey, you want to see our movies?" Of course, by that time we lived right near where Jimmy Hoffa was kidnapped, and we did the James Hoffa story. That was Sam, Bruce, and me, and Bruce played Jimmy Hoffa, and of course Tommy Smothers. He obviously has a strong political bent. He just got a huge kick out of it and was fascinated. Bruce had a projector called a UMIG projector, had variable speed on it. And so I could, here I am with the audio cassette tape, and they never really sunk up. I love that word, sunk. They just were never in sync.
Right.
And so it was so it was cool to have a projector that kind of slowed it down. The only drawback was the picture got a little dimmer. But, man, when you want that sound effect to sync up and everything, it was amazing. And that was right around 76, 77 that we did gravitate to sound Super 8 film. And we're also experimenting with 16-millimeter shorts.
You guys were also pioneers in a way. It's very, very commonplace now, especially with the internet, with phones being able to shoot film and everything else. But you guys were sort of the first generation of filmmakers who had that formative experience of kind of making movies in the back garden, because stuff like Super 8 film and Super 8 cameras were available. The generation before you didn't necessarily have that available to have at home. It's my generation had the home computer for the first time. And it's and then obviously by the time you get to the 80s, camcorders and VHS recorders and various other things are available. So then you get another wave of people like the Edgar Wrights of the world who have been making films. They make films in their back garden, and they make movies, and they kind of follow yours and Bruce's and Sam's kind of mold of, we make movies with our friends first, and then let's see if we can do one that's a bit more professional. But I think that in that way you guys were pioneers, yeah?
Well, that's cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And it was just kind of interesting, too, to note that, it was expensive. Yeah. It was $1.50 to develop, in the early 70s, and then, $2-3 for a 3-minute roll of film cartridge. And you really had to know your stuff. The kind of cool thing is now, you can do a feature on your iPhones, and, that kind of a deal. Sure. Paranormal activity and whatnot.
Yeah, they won't be very good, but you can do it.
Well, that's true in a lot of ways. However, it's kind of cool to know that, hey, this is free. I can do 1,000 takes if I want.
Sure. No,
but when you only have a few minutes and a few dollars, you got to be even if you're just goofing around and don't know what you're doing, because obviously we didn't. We kind of learned by trial and error, of course. And we would go, you know what? This is going to be very expensive if we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. It kind of brings into focus stuff that, as you become a professional filmmaker, are really important, whether you're a producer or a director. Stuff like a budget, stuff like who's going to do what job, who's got what costumes, who's got, and so I think there's something with those that early recording technique of Super 8 and like you say, cassette tapes or reel-to-reels and things like that, where you have to be not only inventive, but you also have to have that kind of professional side of you where even if you're goofing off, you say, well, let's at least sit down for 5 minutes and plan this rather than just some silly thing,
Well, exactly, and we fed off our audience's notes. If we showed a movie and a gag didn't work or something, it was instantaneously. We'd go out and shoot another scene, and or we just most likely edit the gag out, shorten it, or do some editing and revising. And it was just great. It was like a wonderful game of tennis. and everybody benefited, and we got, they were laughing, and, and we could see where their response, where you kind of squirm in your seat and you go, okay, we better make that scene stronger. Let's cut that out. And it was an incredible, right almost out the gate, after showing, I think, our first film, which had no editing in it, and it was only 3 minutes long, throwing Twinkies at each other. But, we showed it at our clubhouse, and everybody reacted great. But, the parents said, hey, let's chip in and buy those guys an editor. Talk about a left-handed compliment. Oh, shit. You know what, though? We learned, and we edited most of our films on the back of a plastic Super 8 film can that had the imprints for regular 8 and Super 8, and we used a razor blade and splice tapes. That's how raw it was. I mean, you're literally, you got your hands on the film. It's very analog. Yeah. It's really amazing, And now everything is just kind of like, you've got this wall of technology between you where you never really touch anything, It's great, with emulsion on film. And you know what? I got to say, at the end of the day, I like it better now. Yeah. The biggest pain in the A of the old school is the lighting. I had an old joke, why don't cinematographers smoke? Because it takes them 3 hours to light it. And it's like, oh, man, it's like, you know what? I mean, look, again, like, here's the thing that you kind of were alluding to earlier. There's something about film and lighting that takes 3 hours that has that look. Right. But I think you can get close to it for, a quarter of that and quickness. And I hated the cameras, and I hated that. I mean, actually, I hated film. It was always breaking and bubbling up and causing trouble. Yeah. I mean, the last film, when I directed Hostel 3 a few years back, we shot on Super 16 and just laid it all off, into the digital world. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, okay, good. That's great, because at least you get a little bit of that. You get, something there. Yeah. Considering the first film that I co-wrote and produced, we did kind of what they did on Evil Dead, where you do a 16 millimeter blow up to 35 millimeter. Yeah. And that was great to go through that experience. My God, I got to make films, and that was also my education. That was me going to school. Oh, man, what a great deal.
Well, the only thing I kind of alluded to, I made a joke about Paranormal Activity, but the reason why I alluded to kind of laughing a little bit about sort of the people who do make just a film on their phone or whatever, it's just that it doesn't necessarily
too easy.
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't teach them to have that planning. You know what I mean? They can do whatever they want. They can shoot 1,000 takes. They can, whatever it is. And some people are going to be successful just riffing like that, and they're going to be able to put something together. But that's going to be 1 in a million who is going to be good at actually just putting together sort of disparate strands. It kind of makes it having that formative years. While digital is much easier to work with, cheaper, quicker, better to light, and all the rest of it, having those formative years on Super 8 and on film must benefit you now, I guess, when it comes to putting together.
John, also listen, look, they released everything back in the day, and all the drive-ins in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, virtually everything got released. Otherwise, they'd be releasing it on DVD now or something.
Right.
Or Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But everything got released. Even the worst movie got, a drive-in showing somewhere. Yeah. And that's the amazing thing to me of like, I guess there weren't as many bad movies made back in the day, maybe. I don't know. I haven't done an actual study on this. Right. It's just a gut feeling. But I'm just saying, and there were some bad movies back in the day, and maybe I have a little more nostalgia for the fact that a bad movie from 1970 is better than a bad movie from today. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because you had to raise money, you had to find people, you had to there was more to it. I think.
Yes, and everything. You can see the grain of the film, and even the slickest flicks, and there's just a texture there that kind of in a way, and CGI kind of harms this. No, CGI can also be very clever, but the best CGI is when you don't realize you're seeing it in some ways. I know if you're seeing some gigantic, transformer, and like, all right, come on. But I'm just saying, it's just there's something a little cooler, and there's just some oomph there in the old school stuff that the CGI just can't seem to create. At this stage, I'm sure maybe they'll probably nail that in the next few years. I'm hoping.
I'll take Tom Sullivan's stop motion animation at the end of Evil Dead over any Transformer film a million times over. But that's me personally.
Oh no, I'm a sucker for all of that stuff. Are you kidding me? Yeah, no, I really am. And it, like, show me the wires, show me all its warts.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just a big fan of like Irwin Allen and the Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and the Flying Sub. I mean, I actually thought that wouldn't it be cool to have a flying sub that looked like that and it could go out of. I mean, I really thought that existed. That's how great. But I just caught a couple of the episodes recently, and I'm stunned at how great the model work is. It's absolutely. Of course, it was the Lydeckers who did all the classic Republic, the miniature work in the Republic serials of the 30s and 40s and 50s. Yeah. They were, but I'm just the design of the ship. I was like, what in the? Oh, this is great. I'm like, I was kind of ready for it to go. Okay, this is going to be really cheesy, and yes, some of it is. Don't get me wrong, but the miniature work is amazing. The concept of the shots, and I'm like, wow, man, that's amazing.
Yeah,
but the flying sub, but I digress. Getting off onto the
not at all.
A lot of our, most of our films are special effects now, and at least in the horror arena, and that's always a weird thing too. Of like, you just always wish you could use practical effects when you can, but sometimes CGI. I mean, Robert Rodriguez has a completely different take on it. He goes, I just use the CGI blood just because I can take the time with other cool scenes, and I'm going, oh yeah, I love that. That's totally legitimate, and I think that's really cool.
But I think
that's at least how I interpreted what he was saying. I might be off my mark, but I think I get the gist.
I think he kind of builds it into his style. So like his style is sort of very unique.
Yeah,
it's not.
That's what it is.
And if you're watching CGI in a Rodriguez movie, it seems different because he's doing it with some sort of purpose or some sort of like overt.
Good point. It's not just laziness.
Right,
it's not laziness.
Right.
It's almost he's making it work for him.
Yeah. Definitely. Certainly with like the Grindhouse and the Machete and those kind of movies where
Machete, exactly. Right on. Yeah.
That's awesome. So the current project, for people who don't know, you have put together a DVD of the Super 8 shorts. So just talk to us a little bit about how that came about and where that idea came from and how you went forward.
Well, I think it's Rob McLean who runs the Evil Dead website over there in the UK. And my old buddy Bill Ward, who he was the guy with the movie camera.
Yeah.
And we kind of formed we kind of made a little horror parody called Inspector Clutch Saves the Day with my buddy Matt Dewan, and then we kind of morphed into the Three Stooges suddenly thereafter for some reason.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, we just, he had a movie camera, and we just kind of got together and started. We were into famous monsters, and we wanted to buy movies like The Phantom of the Opera or whatever in the back of a magazine, and Bill Ward's like, hey, man, I got a movie camera. We can make our own. I'm like, oh, yeah, great. All right. What do we know about it?
Yeah.
So we just went for it and kind of never looked back. It kind of steamrolled. And then, of course, going to high school and, Bruce Campbell, I first meet actually in Sunday school. We were both raised Christian Scientists, and we were in the same Sunday school class. But, when you go to Sunday school, like back then in the day, it was like, oh, there's no time for comedy. You just didn't say anything. You nodded.
Right.
I don't know. It was just weird. It's probably why I'm an agnostic right now, but whatever.
Yeah.
I bought a praying mantis and found out it was an atheist. No, I'm sorry. That's a bad joke. But be that as it may, I knew Bruce sat there for years, and we never spoke. And then guess what? I see him at study hall, like in 8th grade, and he tells me the whole plot of the Poseidon Adventure as if he just wrote this script. I mean, he just was so excited about the movie. He really got it. I always loved Lost in Space and Voyage and Land of the Giants and The Time Tunnel, all those great shows. I mean, really, they hold up marvelously. But I was late to the party seeing Poseidon Adventure, and he told me, and we became fast friends ever after. And in fact, he was a professional actor even as a child. Because his dad was a local actor at St. Dunstan's, and Bruce was in The King and I when they did a production. He played the little kid in it. I don't know. I don't really remember any of that, et cetera.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, Bruce showed up, and we were just, Bruce Campbell, Bill Ward and Matt Taylor and myself, we were just being in a T-shirt. We got to look like adults, and we just borrowed an old dirty, dad's, suit coat and threw it on. And here comes Bruce with his makeup kit, his costume, fake mustaches, and it was really a serious time. And that was amazing. And he that was back in 1973. And boy, did we bond very fast, and just ended up, we just. And it's funny too, because by about 1974, Bill was starring in plays and in high school, and of course, met a very nice lady, and so we were a little stunted,
Yeah.
Well, girls are corny, although in our films you can kind of see when we start getting the girl bug, Hey, because it's all guy shit, It's just a bunch of guy crap,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're just going, oh wait a minute, who's that little cutie? I mean, not to be sexist, but
no, but like Cheryl Gutteridge, you got Cheryl Gutteridge starts coming into the films, Alan Sandweiss, people like that.
Yes, and in fact, I was in a play. That's how we found Cheryl. I was in a play. I played the mayor and Bruce produced it. Summer production of The Music Man.
Yeah.
And she was Amaryllis, and just 3 short years later, she's our leading lady in It's Murder, which was our first Super 8 feature film that really was a springboard to Evil Dead.
But now you're producing now you're releasing a lot of these early films. You're making them available to fans eventually. Where did that idea come about to release them now in 2017?
I don't know. I think Bill Ward and Rob McLean both approached me via email and just kind of ran it past me. And I said, why the hell not? I think it's cool because these films are getting old, and it would just be great to have them on another medium. And who the heck knows? It's a Super 8 film, and it's just brittle, and it's like, oh, man, I mean, I know there's technology that we could transfer them, but it's just, I don't know. Just seemed like a cool time to do that and go, oh, okay, excellent, why not?
Yeah, and we're really glad you're doing it. I mean, I think Josh Becker put a couple out a few years back, a couple that he had done, and
yes, exactly right.
I know that sort of, although it never got on a DVD release, Within the Woods is floating around. Like I've seen that, and it's been bootlegged multiple times. But they did prep it for.
Well, guess what? For some reason, I'm sorry, John. For some reason, I have everybody's movies. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I have Bruce's early movies, Sam's early movies, my early movies, and our early movies.
Yeah.
That joke. The guy with 3 kids marries a woman with 4 kids, and then they have 2 kids themselves, and it's like, honey, your kids and my kids are beating up our kids. But sorry, but I mean, it's so weird. And I'm like, and just recently, Sam requested Within the Woods.
Yeah.
So I'm going, oh, okay, and I think they already rescored it. I don't know if it's coming out or when it's coming out, but they did snag that, and I should have mentioned that. Hey, what about Clockwork? Because that was a cool little 10-minute tale of terror that preceded Within the Woods. But maybe you know what? I never question Sam.
No.
He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a very smart man, and I admire him greatly. He really knows. I think he's going to use that Clockwork as another incentive for another set of something coming up.
Awesome.
So anyway, at least I've got all the films, and it makes me nervous. But anyway, I've taken care of them. And they've been stored in a cool, dry place. So there you have it.
That's awesome. And you've said that obviously if this set is successful, you'll continue to release them. Have Bruce or Sam or Josh or any of the other people from those earlier days are they aware of the project? And are they?
I haven't talked to Josh in eons, but I did speak to Bruce about it. Definitely, yes, exactly, and he seemed pretty cool about it. He was like, oh man, we gotta get new transfers. I'm going, look, the films. We had 1 copy. It's almost like if you see these films now, it looks like we optically added the scratches, like it's some
right.
retro MTV music video. Yeah. It just makes me laugh, but I kind of wear it as a badge of honor because you know what? It's just everything's looking too good lately. Technology, I can see all the mistakes. I can see all the actors' bad teeth and their acne, and it's weird. It's weird, man. Maybe I'm seeing too much.
No, yeah, you can
I don't
see
know.
the crease in the makeup.
Oh, no, it's be careful what you wish for, because I'm going, wow, man, I saw the string on that. I've seen this movie 8 times, and I never saw a string before.
You can see people's toupees flapping about now in the high def. When you get together with one or more of the old Michigan Mafia, as we call you guys, do you guys ever discuss the possibility of like making little indie movies again for yourselves, like the Super 8 times, sort of bypassing the Hollywood machine and doing a few little things like either in California or Michigan or somewhere, or does that never come up?
Oh, I don't think it comes up. I think we're all pursuing whatever projects we're pursuing at the time, still going from the basic template. What's the material? Who's going to produce it? Where are you going to get the dough? Although the whole financing thing is up in the it's anybody's guess right now. It's great. There's so many different sources of potential.
Yeah.
Financing. It's almost a little crazy, but it's better to have more options than not any
definitely. And I think we as fans, as much, and we love all of you guys' work and everything you guys putting out. Certainly I do, and I know a lot of the internet does. We follow a lot of your stuff. But there is that thing, if you've been a fan long enough and you kind of know about the Super 8s and maybe you've seen a couple of them, there's that part, or you can remember like the earlier films, there's a part of you that's like, oh, it would be great to see what they would all do if they just kind of got together and made like a scrappy little movie now and kind of released it on the internet or something,
And that's the thing with everybody's schedule and just trying to time the thing would be so weird. But, I kind of like the way you're thinking in a way, and that perhaps there could be a little project where everybody could do, it within a certain format. Say it was an omnibus or a trilogy, whatever. Yeah. And Bruce and I could do one, and then Sam and Bruce could do one, or I don't know. That's what was kind of cool about the Masters of Horror back in the day, because then you can,
Oh, that was such a good series.
Certain group of, I know, and I'm just shocked over Toby Hooper's death.
I know, it's tragic. Oh, so tragic. And a year ago was Wes as well. We lost Wes Craven a year ago, so.
And then George Romero earlier.
Yeah, so it's been a hell of a couple of years for horror. Yeah, we've got
wow.
Yeah.
It's making me nervous.
It is.
I know. These are 3 titans of terror.
Definitely.
The Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and of course, Night of the Living Dead. My goodness. All right.
Yeah, and when you talk.
All right. I always love that line. I don't know where the hell it's from, but it's like, tomorrow is promised to no one. It sounds Star Trekian, but it's like where's that from? It's like, why did somebody have to put it so succinctly? That sucks.
Yeah, it does. It's a tragedy. But when you're talking about practical effects, I mean, those guys worked with some of the greats and did some incredible work. So. One of the ultimate Super 8s that would lead eventually to The Evil Dead was Within the Woods. We've been talking about that. In that movie, you got to play the part that was intended for you of Scotty. What do you remember about putting together Within the Woods specifically compared to other Super 8s? Because Sam was obviously going to use it as a selling tool.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because I was working like the night crew at Kroger's grocery store in Michigan. Yeah. And we squeezed that film in on a succession of weekends, and it so for me I was just like I literally was like going on about 4 hours of sleep. Yeah. So I almost felt like I myself was possessed in a different way of like just being propped up by coke. So I almost felt like it was like some sort of a weird out of body experience. Because it was intense. But no, it was amazing. And I would come to Kroger's, and you could tell it's cherry pie filling, but that's, I got that at Kroger's, and I would just bring like a lot of the props. And I remember that film incredibly well. I remember Sam with his shot lists. Yeah. And I think, I might have some of those actually, believe it or not. I'm not sure. Maybe they're for Evil to the Dead. Yeah. But I had some shot lists, and I remember Doug Sills, who's now an actor, and he worked on it behind the scenes. I remember everything about it. I remember getting those 2 old those Coke bottles at a little store in Marshall, Michigan, and it almost had its own Texas Chainsaw vibe in the sense that we were out in the middle of nowhere and like, okay, so I live in Michigan, but this could be another state for all I know. I don't know what Marshall, Michigan is. What is that? Yeah. Home of Tom Sullivan. Okay, that's cool. and that's where Rob Tapert had that farm. But I remember everything. It was cool. Bruce Campbell got the best laugh because they had to, stab me in the movie, right?
Yeah.
And they stabbed me in the movie. And, of course, I've got like the Tom Selleck chest in terms of hair. Oh, shit. And they duct taped everything and just ripping that duct tape off.
Oh,
it
man.
was like, wait, I'd rather be stabbed with a knife. And Bruce was laughing. It's just a great thing to laugh at because it was so frustrating. I'm like, wait, this is hurting way more than I ever could even imagine. This is stupid. And, but it was hilarious. And I got an education on match shots and how at the end of It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World was put together with all these miniatures, and I had no idea. Tom Sullivan was so ahead of his game. Really just wonderful time because, he had to make me up as a monster, and he gave me the greatest compliment. He goes, man, I like your monster better than the one I did for Hal Rich, although maybe I'm speaking sacrilege. I go, you know what? I do too.
Yeah.
That monster at the end is really scary. But again, I don't mean to diss anything. I mean, Evil Dead's the classic that it is, and all
right.
of the monster makeups are awesome in it. So, but I just, it's just really kind of a cool thing. And an interesting note too is that in one of the last Super 8 on this particular volume set, we did a teaser called Curse the Werewolf, where Bruce Campbell, I play a werewolf, and I kill Bruce Campbell in the opening credits. He's a hunter out in the woods. And the camera's right over my arm, and it goes right toward Bruce and grabs him by the throat. And there's a similar shot in Within the Woods, when Bruce attacks Ellen and she smashes her onto the table with the Monopoly board there. And I was like, again, a lot of this stuff, you see other people's work. I've been inspired, obviously, visually by a ton of Sam shots and everything else. But I was like, I never discussed it with Sam, but maybe he could have been influenced by that shot or not, because it was such a distinctive shot, particularly in any of our earlier Super 8 careers, because it's such a distinctive shot.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. You're kind of over the shoulder. Because my arm was all hairy. I was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, so you get to see the werewolf arm. And that was pretty cool. A radical shot for its time, since just a short before we're throwing Three Stooges pies and a basic, master shot.
Right. Well, no, and also I think that's another. I mean, I had friends that I grew up with that I did creative stuff with, whether it was audio stuff or film or whatever. And I think that part of the charm of the story that would be the story of the Evil Dead, but all these Super 8s beforehand and everything else, I think when you first learn about that and you learn about all you guys and the friendships you had and the films you made and the stuff you did, like there's a real the tale behind the films. Are certainly for those first few are as rich and interesting and varied as the films themselves, and I think it shines through the work. That group of you all kind of pulling together and creating something it kind of shines through the work, and it's certainly one of the things that we love about it.
Oh, that's so cool! Yeah, and there was just it could be its own little mini series, because we're all we're trying to figure out. We're like John Cameron. He was one of our the Metropolitan Film Group, if you will, a fellow filmmaker in our group. And he's like, we're all like ants trying to climb up a slippery anthill, and we're all trying to. So it was really a lot of fun to see, And Sam, Bruce, and Rob really were the mavericks in terms of doing the whole Evil Dead thing, because that took that was a lot of major life changes. I think Sam lost the love of his life over it in terms of she just went on to somebody else, and because Sam was on that film forever. I'll never forget the time that they changed the title from Book of the Dead to Evil Dead over that span of probably maybe a year and a half. Yeah. And remember, they got all kinds of promotional T-shirts and everything for Book of the Dead. Then they had to redo that again when the title got changed. Yeah. And they're like, Sam, that's you made another movie. Because no, it's the same movie. I'll never forget Sam telling me that with just kind of a sense of exasperation. Well, because you just want the damn thing. You want to shoot it in a few months. You want to post it in a few months. Yeah. Whatever, a couple of months to set it up and get it out there, and then premieres a few months later. And that's almost how it went, at least once Evil Dead 2 went. Yeah. It went. It got the green light, and it just was out the gate, and that's kind of how it happened. I mean, there was some drama in there a little bit, but not too much. Once we got the green light, and like, oh, cool, I'm going to Hollywood with Sam to write this. So that's cool.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, so you do a little bit of fake champing on Evil Dead, but then when it comes around to Evil Dead 2, you're brought back into the fold, and you write the thing with Sam. So tell us...
Oh, yeah, they wanted me on Evil Dead.
Right.
I was like, guys, I'm making $25,000 a year. And I got to help support my family because they were financially hurting at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't go back to my job. They're not letting me have the time off. You know, they needed me. You know, God, it turns out a hell of a lot longer than what they said, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm like, for $50 a week, are you kidding me? I was making $25,000 in 1979. Think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's good money now.
right. Yeah, definitely outside of the big
for
cities.
A teenager. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
But yeah, but you did when they moved the production back to Michigan, you did sort of some fake champing and things on it, right?
Yeah, I got all my girlfriends and my friends in it to, to double Cheryl and I all the whole ending I worked on with. I supplied all the meat parts, kind of like how Mario Bava used, tripe. Cow intestines for Kaltiki, the immortal monster, back in 1959. And those sat around for a long time. But, I helped out. And I was there when, Teddy was doubling for Cheryl when the creature arms burst out, throwing all the meat. And, so all of that gore, I blew oatmeal through Scotty's sleeve, as he was disintegrating.
Oh,
that was
such
a great time.
Sequence.
Working with Bart Pierce and Tom Sullivan. And, of course, Sam, Bruce, and Rob, they were pretty effing amazing, and still are.
Yeah. So you go on to Evil Dead 2. You write Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. I worked on Crime Wave too with Sam.
Right.
Helping him write scenes at Denny's restaurant at 2 a.m, and he was wonderful. And I got my SAG card because of that movie. I got a girlfriend out of it. I was having the best time on Crime Wave while Sam, Bruce, and Rob are being tormented beyond their wildest dreams. But it was kind of interesting because, like Rob's like, oh, man, you're really helpful. I mean, like, I don't know. They thought I was just, I just didn't really want to come on and help them out on Evil Dead. I'm going, dude, I guess I didn't make it clear enough. But that really helped me with Evil Dead 2, because those guys were having such a hard time. And I was just being as helpful as I could humanly be. And it was great that they were shooting in Detroit because I'm like, oh, okay, by that time I could, I think I was just kind of easing out of network and taking movie industry more seriously by writing more scripts and trying to get stuff made.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Campbell said, "Hey, Scotty, you want to be the extras casting dude?" And I go, "Absolutely, let's do it." Now, of course, Sam got in trouble from Embassy Pictures. Is that Siegel kid in front of the camera? Sam put me in almost every other scene, and they got in trouble because I wasn't SAG.
Right.
And that got me SAG, by the way. But we were just learning kind of as we went.
Yeah.
And but I still cherish that because we got to work with Emil Sitka, the fourth stooge, and he was just such a great actor. And that movie had a lot of fun actors, and of course Joel Edgerton Cohen co-wrote the screenplay with Sam.
Yeah.
And so it was just a great time. But anyway, that really led to my involvement in Evil Dead 2 because Rob and Sam and Bruce were very thankful, and I'm like, hey man, thank you. That was a great, fun gig. I made enough dough that I can kick back and start raising money for this other project, and it was great.
Yeah, and of course, if there were any of those Embassy guys still around to see Sam and the Coen brothers become what they were, they must have been kicking themselves that they interfered with that movie so much.
I know. Isn't that? It's weird. It was really weird.
But
very weird.
But yes,
I mean, Ed Pressman was great and was in the movie, and as far as I know, was really behind Sam. But there were other powers that be, and I guess it all just came, very weird. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I just felt bad for my friends being kind of abused, and it seemed like they got taken advantage of by some of the people in some of those locations, I guess. Bruce Campbell's audio commentary on the Crime Wave Blu-ray is amazing.
It is. No,
amazing.
I'm a big fan of his commentaries are always good to listen to. So they're always great. But
brilliant.
Evil Dead 2 it's in my personal top 5 films of all time, hands down. Many consider it the best of the series, and I've even heard Bruce say that it's his sort of personal favorite of the three, now four of them, if you take the TV series to be sort of the fourth.
Right.
So huge props for that, man, and it's just fantastic that it's one of the perfect blends of comedy, violence, gore, splatstick, horror. It's got and practical effects. It's got like everything. It's got everything that I love about like 80s horror filmmaking.
I know, it's
everything.
funny, Sam brought me on to do some demon voices for Ash versus Evil Dead, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it was the premiere episode, although I'm not 100% sure. I think it was.
Yeah, that's the one he did, the pilot, yeah.
Yeah, where they had the stock footage from Evil Dead 2 with Evil Ed coming up and attacking them in the cabin.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was hilarious because I go, Sam, I'm revoicing myself.
Right.
I did that voice, and but it was hilarious. But one of the people in the studio was making fun of Bruce's 80s hair in the Evil Dead 2 flashback clip. And I go, oh, my God, you're right. It is a little Mel Gibson-y, not quite Road Warrior, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's a little more poofy. And I'm like, oh, my God, because that was my favorite thing about Evil Dead films. The hair gives you away.
Right.
Because what is it? It's work boots, jeans, a cabin, and kind of a 70s car, but for the most part, it's almost timeless.
Yeah.
I mean, a cabin is so timeless. Wait a minute, what year could that cabin be? A cabin in the woods that looks like it could be any decade.
Any decade, except, by the time you get to Army of Darkness, he's got a full-blown mullet in that movie.
Oh, my God, does he really?
He's got the big long hair out the back.
I'm scared.
It's awesome.
Oh, no, because in other words, so the hair he had from 1979, 80, 81, that was probably the most timeless hairdo of all.
Right. And it's funny because Ash has kind of gone back to that now, that sort of short back and sides. He's now gone back to that in the TV series. But yeah, in Army of Darkness, his hair's quite long, certainly out the back. So
wow.
After Evil Dead 2, you make Intruder, which is another favorite of mine. I'm a big slasher fan, and it's sort of got some of the most memorable slasher kills of all time in that film. So how much fun were they to come up with and then execute that stuff? Because you had KMB on that movie, right?
Oh, exactly. And not only that, I got to meet them because they were working for Mark Strostrom back in the day.
Yeah.
And they came out and did some additional gore scenes for Evil Dead 2 in Dearborn, Michigan. And I just hit it off with those guys. So that when I came back to when I went out to Hollywood, I talked to Greg, and I said, Greg, I can't afford you guys, but maybe could you – I'm going to do this like $130,000 film all in, and I can't afford you guys, but do you know somebody that might be able to? He goes, hey, I'll tell you what. You give us an upfront credit, and we'll do it for free. You pay for the materials. And I'm like, wow, that's a deal. I mean, I don't even think he said that. So it was like that was the deal, and I'm like, how could I turn that down?
Yeah.
So that was their first film, and it's where all those stars aligned, because I'm like, hey, I'm the first of the guys to actually direct a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Everybody else is directing them in, Morristown, Tennessee. And no, it doesn't matter where they are. Your first movie is your first movie, of course.
Right.
But it was nice to do it in Hollywood and have Lawrence Bender as my producer, and to be able to have Bruce appear in it, and Lawrence Bender and Rob Tappert voicing some of the kill scenes, and then just amazing craft work of KMB, because you can't understand. I mean, we shot it in 2 weeks. My God, I mean, Sam Raimi said the greatest thing, because I'm not 100% sure, but I think Evil Dead 2, and it's a complicated movie, Evil Dead 2. It has a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I think that was at least 75 days. I'm not sure.
Right.
I think, but here we are on the end of the first week of a 2-week shoot, and it's murder, because it's like, oh my God, you pays a lot of money for an extra hours of sleep, and Sam goes, how are you holding up? He goes, I go, man, it's intense. He goes, and think, in another week you'll be done. Imagine now, just look at me on Evil Dead 2, day 45. I got another 40 to go. It's like, no. And you know what? Boy, did that ever put it into perspective. But amazing. I mean, Sam really got hurt when that stunt into the Pepsi display got hit. And as Sam was so conscientious as a director, I'm like, it was just great. I love, Bruce Steers. He's a big screenwriter director now. He was one of the actors. And then there's Craig Stark, who was just in The Hateful Eight for Quentin.
Yeah.
And, everybody, and of course Lawrence Bender, and Academy Award-winning producer. And it was really, we got a lot of bang for our buck for a measly $130,000. And plus, it was great to work with Charles Band. I mean, Charles Band was fantastic. I didn't deal with him that much. He was very impressed that we were able to get Sam involved.
Yeah.
And he was really concerned about the title. He liked, he wanted to call it The Final Checkout. I said, Charlie, how about this? Night Crew, The Final Checkout. He goes, I like that. And then it got changed to something else for other, oddball reasons. But be that as it may, Albert Band, he did that great Stephen Crane movie based on the Stephen Crane short story, Face of Fire, with Cameron Mitchell and James Whitmore from 1959. And it's one of the most amazing movies I've ever seen. Yes, I guess you would call it a horror movie, but it's just, and the damn shame of it is I hadn't seen it when I was working with him, because he Albert Band oversaw my, Intruder.
Yeah.
But I did tell him that. I go, man, oh man, I want to see. I told him I loved I Buried the Living, but I'd love to see it again, but it wasn't on video. And he brought me my own personal copy that I have to this day.
Oh, that's amazing.
But Albert's a hell of a filmmaker. He directed I Buried the Living, one of the greatest no-budget horror films ever made. And Stephen King agrees with me. And then Face of Fire, it's on a whole nother level. If you saw Face of Fire, the best Cameron Mitchell and James Whitmore performance, man, that's amazing stuff. And I'm like, wow.
I need to check that out. I haven't seen that, actually. That's one of the few references I haven't seen, no.
Oh, it's great, and I had it in my library forever, and finally, you know what, I'm glad I did, because they came out with a great DVD of it.
Cool.
One of those just burn them up, kind of no-frills thing you can get on Amazon. But anyway, It was amazing.
But that's nice.
But anyway, everything was amazing. It was just a lot of fun, and it was just great to work with Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi. I mean, all of these people. I mean, I really lucked out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's a treat, I think, no matter when you kind of become a fan of this kind of movie making and this group of people. It's fantastic to have stuff like Intruder to kind of go back and discover. I mean, I became a fan sort of in '93 when I first saw Army of Darkness on VHS, and then I kind of went back and kind of found all these other films. But with Synapse putting out the Blu-ray and various other things, like there's some great stuff out there now that people can kind of go and discover. Thou Shalt Not Kill Except came out, which has got another amazing performance from Sam in it, which is well worth seeing.
Well, the thing was, it was just great because we all were very new to Hollywood, and it was a kind of a fun little film to break into Hollywood with.
Yeah.
Even though we technically shot it in Bell, California. But our studios were in Hollywood, and we got, to work with Alvy Moore, who discovered Don Johnson and produced A Boy and His Dog and acted in it. He played Mr. Kimball on Green Acres and was a producer with L.Q. Jones of all these horror films like Brotherhood of Satan and The Witchmaker. And he was in our film, and we got Eb Dawson and Emil Sitka of the Three Stooges fame. And Emil Sitka was in a William Castle film called 13 Frightened Girls where he got stabbed in the back.
Right.
It's a cool lobby card of him. And, and that movie has, guys on meat hooks, and it's a little graphic for kind of a kiddie bopper film.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. And then to top it all off, Jonathan Ross, who we could call him Britain's David Letterman or something, he did a whole interview with Sam and Rob for the Incredibly Strange Film Show, and they interviewed me and everything on that set. We got a lot of mileage out of that no budget movie, but it just everything, all the stars aligned, and I was very, very fortunate. But Sam was incredibly helpful. Everybody, I was just truly amazing. I'm just glad it came out as well as it did, considering we wrote it in 2 weeks, shot it in 2 weeks, and posted it in maybe 4, and that was it.
Yeah, and it always makes me laugh. I think there's a trailer out there for Intruder, I think back when it was still called Night Crew, and I'm going to forget the name right now, but whoever it was who was in 16 Candles, and that was at the time the big selling point of the film, apparently. And you think to yourself...
You're right. Oh, well, and we also had... Renee Estevez, who was so cool, and I called her because I had some new dialogue for her, and Martin Sheen answers the phone. Well, he was like one of the nicest guys, and I'm like, this is her father, Martin. I'm like, you know, but Renee was so classy. I mean, we got a lot of mileage with the folks, you know, for, you know, a movie that's just, you know. Right. It's the ultimate quickie.
But I just mean that, like, now, looking back at it, people are more likely to kind of discover that movie because of the sort of Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi and even Lawrence Bender, Quentin Tarantino connection than they are necessarily the person who was in 16 Candles. You know?
I know, isn't that funny? That's so funny. Yeah, the narrator of that promo says that. Yes, Liz Cobb. So yeah, exactly. Well, she since married one of the Zucker brothers.
Oh wow, okay. The crazy Zucker brother, the crazy one that went off.
Matt. David, or Jerry. No, Jerry, I think.
Oh, Jerry, okay.
Yeah, well, she's now Liz Cox Zucker.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No, I'm sorry, that's terrible. That's horrible.
I just figured that out.
No, it was really lame. Good grief. Liz is great. I hope I'm having a little fun at her expense. But she was amazing. And she taught me so much. She's going, you know, you're doing a movie like in 2 weeks, right? And you don't have any time. It's like, wait a minute, I look better from the other side. I go, it's going to take us 20 minutes to reset and everything. We're just going to have to go with it. Yeah. Cut to me seeing the dailies and going, you know what, she was right, but we just didn't have the time. Damn it. Luckily, I shot her from enough of the right angles, I think, but she was right. I you know, after that point, I go, you know what, I can't let time interfere with, I really have to listen to the actor.
Right.
I really have to listen to, you know, I mean, luckily it was cool, but I'm like, the thing is, it's like, if you had told me 20 minutes before, I could have worked with you on that one.
Right.
You know, but it's like, oh shit, there's no time. And that's always a frustrating thing.
Always come prepared. But so, just going through again your career, just a couple more points. You wrote The Rookie, which Clint Eastwood directed. How much in a big sort of Eastwood Hollywood production like that changes from the page to the screen, and how much does Eastwood like the writers on the set? Were you involved with the final film at all, or did you just kind of write it with?
Well, I was writing The Nutty Nut at the time, but I did make some special appearances, and I was able to even be directed by Clint in a small scene near the end of the film where I play a baggage handler at this airport.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me, and so that was really cool. And my buddy Boaz, who co-wrote it with me, he actually asked Mr. Eastwood, you know, because he was intending on becoming a director, and I was already a director and then writing my next directorial effort while that was happening. And Clint graciously said, yeah. So Boaz ends up appearing in the film. He got to be directed by the great Clint Eastwood. And I came in, but just enough is like to where Clint goes, hey, where you been? I'm going, oh, that's exactly what I want him to say. Right? Not you again. You know what I mean? It's like, right. Oh, geez. And there was an awkward moment where one of the producers that brought us into the fray, not Howard Kazanjian, who was great. You know, he was George Lucas's producer and produced all kinds of cool stuff. And Howard was, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark and, you know, Empire and all these great, you know, classics. But, you know, there was kind of a problem, and so Clint had to remove him from the set. And Clint comes and explains to the writers, and like, you don't have to explain it. It was just the writers. It was great, too, because he goes, all right, for Charlie Sheen's father, and Clint addresses Boaz and me, and for Charlie Sheen's father, you know, Robertson, Tony Franciosa, or Tom Skerritt. And we're like, all right, Cliff Robertson. And okay, the writers want Cliff Robertson, the writers will get Cliff Robertson. And I'm like, oh, shit. But I don't know, that didn't work out, so we want Tom Skerritt, who's equally cool. Right. I mean, they were all great actors. But, you know, Cliff Robertson's Charlie, you know. He won an Academy Award. He was Uncle Ben, as it turned out.
Yeah.
You know, and I read just one of the last blurbs I read on Cliff Robertson before he died. And Sam Raimi wanted Cliff Robertson for Spider-Man 3, and I think Cliff Robertson said something so heartfelt. He goes, oh, it's just nice to be wanted at this age. And I'm like, ow.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just very grateful that Sam was, you know, I'm like, I just was like, oh, man, that's pretty cool. But I digress. But it was just like, man, I don't know. It was really just amazing. In fact, Shane Black the big writer-director.
Yeah.
I thought he was auditioning because he had done a small role in Predator.
Right.
And he goes, "Oh no, my girlfriend's auditioning for ultimately the Laura Flynn Boyle role." But it was really an amazing time. We got to be on the set. He fed the crew like lobster and lamb chops, and oh my gosh, he took care of his crew. I got to do a stunt, and Terry Leonard, the great stunt guy, got to push me up and pad me up and everything. It was just really just an amazing thing to work with all of these veterans. And by the way, all the people that I work with, I was watching a lot of the old Clint Eastwood films. He puts them in the movie.
Yeah.
Clint puts like the scriptwriter Lloyd was an actor, and he was in one of these low budget Abominable Snowman movies back in the 50s. Because Lloyd was an actual actor, and he's just a script guy, and he also had a small role in The Rookie. But it was almost kind of really cool in a way of like the end of Cinema Paradiso.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if you ever saw that film, but it was like he gets to see the entire. I don't want to wreck the movie. It's too many spoilers. Anyway, as long as you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
It was great to be able to put all the pieces together. I'm like, oh, there's Clint Stanton. He has 2 lines in that scene. And it was just like, oh, it's just really cool. But he was so amazingly gracious. I learned so much. I met Francis Fisher on that movie.
Yeah.
Talked to Raul Julia. I thought he was yelling at his kid, but forgot that Raul Julia's. He's got this stage voice. I want you to come here. And I'm like, I thought he was yelling at him, but it's like he's playing to the back row. And Sonia Braga was so amazing. I can't believe we were allowed to just hang around. And I was like, well, I was working on the film actually.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know what I did? I can't believe nobody did it. Here we are shooting in San Jose International Airport. Clint's firing off this famous Smith & Wesson, whatever the hell it was. I'm just not a gun guy, but I just thought it was cool. And there's all these shells on the floor.
Yeah.
And I look around and I just swiped them. Like, what are they going to do with it? And it's so ironic that was the last movie of that type he ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, he played a bodyguard in Line of Fire, but I don't think he ever did a Dirty Harry type action movie like that ever again.
Yeah, not really. I mean, Gran Torino has its moments, but it's nowhere near anything like that.
Right, and it's not cop-oriented. It's not running after. But yeah, you're right. Gran Torino is about close.
It has its little moments, but I mean, an Unforgiven, I guess, as a Western, has that kind of throwback action stuff in it.
Yeah. You could say yes, same kind of thing, different era.
But the Rookie is sort of he didn't do a lot of buddy cop stuff like a lot of other people did kind of the buddy cop stuff till it was kind of
Harrison Ford and Penny Dreadful guy, I forget his name, but anyway, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But no, Eastwood really only did that one. I'm trying to think of other buddy movies. I mean, yeah, Dirty Harry, but Dirty Harry tends to either lose a partner, his partner quits, his partner dies, or he goes off on his own. So it's not really the buddy thing that the Rookie has, which is kind of fairly unique, I think.
Well, when we were talking to him about the script changes, which were pretty minor, he wanted us to delete a sewer scene and where they escape. But what was amazing by that time, I told him that I loved Play Misty for Me, and we just talked about it for so long. And then Boaz, he mentioned like the spaghetti westerns, and it was like, nah, it's like I don't really want to go there. But it was just like, it was kind of funny that way in that he loves that. And I told him, I said, Clint, I tried to call him Mr. Eastwood, and he's like, that's my father's name. But so I was like, Clint, I didn't know that the script would land on your desk, but there's a whole sequence where the Charlie Sheen character is racing to save his girlfriend from the psycho, and I lifted that from the end of Play Misty for Me, and he goes, it worked then, it'll work now. And the cool thing is, they were talking about getting Don Siegel. I mean, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is like my top 10 favorite movie list of all time.
Yeah.
Not even science fiction.
Right.
But just because I give extra stars if you make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And he had so little, and he did so much with it. It's amazing. Of course, it's great to have David Lean that has everything. David Lean, all right, you're a genius. Shut up.
Right.
Nah, he's great. But, man, to try to be Edgar G. Ulmer and make the Black Cat when it's all just smoke and mirrors, or Mario Bava, these guys that kind of I don't know. They're just really great visionaries in a lot of ways and making so much out of so little.
Yeah, no, definitely. And sort of
Sam Raimi.
Right, and Sam
exactly.
Raimi. Right.
Sam with Evil Dead. I mean, what was that all about?
Completely. I mean,
$90,000.
The fact that the way Evil Dead gets pulled together and eventually gets released and sort of now becomes this, is now a legitimate classic. It is, it is a horror classic that is mentioned in the same breath as, Night of the Living Dead, Texas Chainsaw
and Halloween.
And
Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm stunned. That probably happened. I noticed it maybe 10 years ago, although Spin Magazine, God, maybe 20 years ago had like of the 100 coolest movies. I don't know if it was just of the 80s. I don't know. I think they meant of ever. That Evil Dead 2 was on number one. And I'm like, oh, it's a sequel? Other than Godfather 2, I mean, are you putting me on? I thought it was a joke.
No, I mean
100 coolest movies. Are you putting me on?
No, Evil Dead 2. It's got to be number one of the 100 coolest movies. There's not even it's up there, man. It's such a great achievement. So one of the things, sort of talking to you tonight, has been so fascinating. Is obviously your love of all film and everything from sort of TV serials and films and everything else, which obviously you share a passion with Quentin Tarantino. He's been very vocal about his film fandom and love and encyclopedic knowledge. You introduced Lawrence Bender, the man who would go ahead and become his producer on so many of his early films. What was the relationship with Quentin like originally, and were you on all those sets of those movies which when like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, like when he first started out, or were you just the catalyst and then you were just sort of friends?
No, I was on the sets of those movies. In fact, my favorite special things credit, they felt so bad that they left me off the special thanks to the movie Reservoir Dogs that they went, oh crap, well, let's put them on the Reservoir Dogs CD for now. And, it's cool. I get a special thanks. Kurt Cobain, Scott Spiegel. I go, oh, God, the one and only time my name will be next to Kurt Cobain. Okay, for what it's worth. I love it.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing is people actually called me up, and I hung out on the set of Pulp Fiction, and I was just amazed. I have so many fun stories. But all of a sudden, people called me up and goes, hey, man, you're the first name up on special thanks. And I'm like, oh, my God. So my favorite Quentin and Lawrence movie, of course, is Pulp Fiction. I just thought, man, oh man, that's an amazing thing, Yeah. I mean, I could just keep watching it, and it's just great. And all of their other stuff is pretty amazing too. But I just thought, oh, you know what? And then I really dig Reservoir Dogs. That's amazing. And Jackie Brown's the underdog.
Oh, you see, I'm a big Pam Grier fan, and Robert Forster fan. So, like, Jackie Brown to me was just incredible.
I had the best Pam Grier story.
Oh, tell me. That's amazing.
Because Quentin came back from Cannes. He said, Scotty, give me all the varieties and Hollywood Reporters. So he went away to Cannes to promote Reservoir Dogs and came back like an international, rock. His Reservoir Dogs took off it took off. And it was amazing to see him come back, sleeping on my couch, come back, and I have all the stack of stuff. And he had all these Pam Grier movies. He had Foxy Brown, Coffee, everything. I'm watching the movies because I go, you know what? He was filling me in. We were going nuts with Pam Grier, right? And at night and because Quentin was talking about Fort Apache, the Bronx, I go, I haven't seen that. And he tells me about it, and I have a nightmare about it.
Yeah.
I have a nightmare that I'm in some horrible place in New York, and she's a policewoman.
Yeah.
And she comes in and saves my ass from these bad guys. And I told Quentin that the next day, and he laughed, and he told Pam Grier that.
Yeah.
So guess who calls me? And I'm so glad I wasn't home. Quentin gets her to call me and leave a message on my machine. Hello, Scotty, this is Coffee, and I'm going to cream you. I'm like, what? And it's really Pam Grier. So cut to 5 years later, I meet her at one of Quentin and Lawrence's big bashes at Lawrence Bender's fancy place in Holmby Hills, right?
Yeah.
And I get to meet Pam Grier. Quentin introduced me. She goes, you're Scotty. I go, what do you mean? She goes, you had that dream about. I'm like, what is going on? How do you remember a dream. It's like Quentin remembers everything. And won't let. It's like the funniest. It's just the greatest. I remember the coolest story, and I just thought that was so cool. That why does everybody? Do I have just a bad memory? I mean, how does people remember? It's the most ridiculous thing.
That's
but
fantastic.
Pam Grier is amazing.
So then
I got to go on the set too. That Hotel Alma Mall when they're doing the whole suitcase, the pass off, and because we were also had meetings for From Dusk Till Dawn 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So it's cool. Quentin's like executive producer of those, right? So he's directing Pam. Okay, cut. All right, lunch. Boom. Okay, now for the sequel From Dusk Till Dawn, I was like, it was pretty amazing times. You know, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, no,
this
definitely.
is crazy.
And a funny thing about Fort Apache the Bronx, when they were showing all of Pam's films at the Lincoln Center here in New York, they did.
I know she played like a junkie in the film or something.
Right.
You know, that well, like dreams never make a lot of sense. Huh?
But that's what makes me. It's kind of a bit odd because she was at the Lincoln Center. She was doing this Q&A. She was talking about Fort Apache the Bronx, and she was saying how she saw it as her big break because she's working with Paul Newman and and she was talking about how she wanted to do it all method and figure it out and all the rest of it. And you kind of think to yourself, like, it really says something that she was the star of some movies that will live forever, Coffee, Foxy Brown, movies like that are incredible, and yet playing a like drugged out hooker in a Paul Newman movie, she considered her big break. Like, it's kind of a weird mindset.
Oh my God, that's a great. Well, you know what? Remember, she had that whole scene with the wolf with Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction that got cut out.
Right.
And I remember Quentin acting that whole sequence out in my living room. And when Quentin acts the scene out, he's pacing back and forth.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's because my apartment's so small. But the thing is, the thing is, Quentin had to cut that out, and he told her, he goes, you know what? I'm gonna star you in a whole nother project.
Right.
And she goes, yeah, like I never heard that one before, Quentin. Cut to Jackie Brown.
And it's
her jaw dropped. She told me that.
She's incredible in that movie. How she didn't win every single award for that film. She's unbelievable. She's an incredible actress.
And just completely put her in another stratosphere. Same with Robert Forster. It's like all of a sudden we're like, hey, we got work. This is great. I was there when Quentin was considering directing an episode of The X-Files when it was still on the air.
Yeah.
Hanging out at his house one Sunday night, and Michael Parks goes, Quentin, thank you for getting me into the From Dusk Till Dawn movie, man. I was able to save my house. I could pay my mortgage from the residuals. And I'm like, it's so Hollywood, right? It's like Quentin, that was Michael Parks. And I hung out with Michael Parks when we did the From Dusk Till Dawn movies. And Jimmy Parks, as Quentin wrote and created a small role for him as the son of Michael Parks, as arranger in From Dusk Till Dawn 2. Yeah. And, you know, of course, Jimmy Parks had that great role in The Hateful Eight, and he's done pretty damn well for himself. But I'm just so bummed that Michael Parks passed this year. But Michael Parks talked, I spent hours with him. He was talking about Jean Renoir and Betty Davis, and he smoked the Pall Malls, filterless Pall Malls right down to his fingers, you know, and his index stained fingers, and it's just what a great opportunity that Quentin and I share the same love for a lot of these great actors that maybe somebody, you know, they forget, or, you know, there's David Lynch is pretty cool with some of the, you know, Russ Tamblins of the world, but, you know, it's just really cool that Quentin appreciates a lot of these people that are so easily forgotten or just kicked around.
Oh no, definitely.
Not underappreciated, yes.
Oh yeah, no, completely. And they always, you know, they always have one thing in common, like the Forster and Pam Grier and Michael Parks and stuff, is that they're all phenomenally talented, and you often see these so-called A-listers who are incredible stars who don't have an ounce of the actual acting ability that some of these other people do that are just that get resurrected. So it's that's wonderful. And just a funny note, my funny Pam Grier story, if you're at all interested, is that is that when we were at the Q&A and she was telling us all about getting method for Fort Apache the Bronx, and she said, I put on this little skimpy dress and some fuck me pumps, and I'm walking along the street, and she gets up off her chair, and I'm sat in the front row of the little amphitheater there in the Lincoln Center, and she gets up off her seat, and she's walking along the front row, and she's like, and I'm walking up to men, and I'm doing this, and she puts her hand right into my beard. I've got a long beard, and she puts her hand right into my beard and looks right into my eyes and says, hey, honey, is that thing real? And she's so at that at that point my jaw is on the floor. Like I cannot speak for an hour afterwards.
Oh my God, that is great. I can't blame you. What the hell? Oh man, that's a story for life, man.
Yeah. So I think
that's
it's the story I tell almost every single time Pam Grier's name comes up. I just have, she touched my beard, man. She touched my beard.
It's not as great as that, just because Pam Grier is the coolest. But I mean, Clint Eastwood isn't chopped liver. But get a load of this, man. Clint and Charlie go to the Cannes Film Festival and come back. This is all during the shooting of The Rookie.
Sure.
And I guess what happened is that Clint and Charlie were stooping the same chick.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on there? But somehow when Charlie found that out, she was wearing his, $100,000 leather jacket. I don't know, whatever it is. It's movie star money, I'm just a writer, right?
Right.
But I made a lot of money on that movie thanks to Charlie because it was a bidding war, and he wanted to make it with Clint. And thank you, Charlie, for that great payday. I'll never forget you. And I'm serious about that because it was like I'm flat broke. I can't afford Jack, and all of a sudden it's like, why Paramount wants $375 for it, and Warner Brothers. I'm like, is this happening? Is this a joke?
Right.
I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
And it happened $500,000 later. But anyway, it's just amazing. But so get a load of this. Charlie was pissed and hit the girl and got his jacket back. And when Clint was talking about this when he got back, he goes, "Yeah, Charlie, me, and the girls. I fuck him and he fucks him up." I'm like, what is this?
Wow.
I think, what the hell? How rude.
Wow.
But anyway, it's like, oh my goodness.
That's a brutal line. I said that's a brutal line.
No, I swear to God, man. I mean, it was really cool. I came up with, it's nowhere near as good as Go Ahead, Make My Day. But did you know that exact line was used a year before in a movie called Vice Squad starring Wings Hauser and John Getz of Blood Simple fame?
I've actually seen that. I saw it on the big screen.
Yes, and John Getz says the same thing. Go ahead, make my day. And he's a detective.
Yeah.
Hello. He says it a year before Sudden Impact. That was 1982. By the way, I didn't know it at the time.
No.
But I had that director. He's a terrific director. He directed Lisa and that great raw meat film. Gary Sherman. He did Dead and Buried.
Yeah.
And he did Lisa with my neighbor, Don Moffat, who we used to have parties with. Don Moffat's neighbor, who was my neighbor, was Steve Buscemi for a while.
Right.
And, it was just such a little Hollywood world, It was really pretty, right in the heart of Hollywood. And it was like, but I never got to really say, hey, Gary, what the hell, man? You were the one, that's from your movie, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked because it's not cribbed. That's the line. But at least with The Rookie, I got to go, there must be 100 reasons why I don't blow you away, but right now I can't think of one.
Yeah.
And, we set it up earlier but it was like, that's a little clunkier, but it was just cool that they went for it. I was like, oh, okay. If Clint thinks it's good enough to say, then it's good enough.
Exactly. Definitely, man. Well, look, it's been a hell of a conversation. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, John, you're the greatest, man. No, thank you for having me, man. This is I'm gonna have a dream about Pam Grier and you and your beard, and some weird thing's gonna happen, and I'll tell Quentin when I see him.
Sure.
And then it's kind of like Groundhog Day, but no, dude, that's a great story. Dude, I hate you. I'm gonna just be thinking about that now. That's great.
And then tell Quentin to come on my show because we would have a great chat, I'm sure. Anyway.
Oh no, it would be great. Every time he calls me to do something, I'm like off in Bhutan or somewhere else, and I'm like, oh, my, hate that timing, but that's just the way it is. But excellent, John. No, believe me, I'll put a good shout out for you if the timing, if all the stars can align.
Of course, man, of course. So just tell everyone where they can get Super 8 shorts. What should they do if they want to get Super 8 shorts? Where should they go?
Oh, well, I think there is a link, I believe, on the Evil Dead fan site, and that's run by Rob McClane, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think that's where one can get those currently.
It's www.super8shorts.com is what it is. Super8shorts.com for people
You're way
who
ahead of
buy
me.
it.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't even got my copy yet. I mean, I have the masters, but I want to see what it all looks like together. So I'm very excited. And yes, there might be a volume 2 with more, where Bruce Campbell plays James Bond.
Oh, nice.
And Jimmy Hoffa, and we kind of grow out of our Three Stooges stage to make, just regular stories. But Bruce Campbell is James Bond. That's, gotta love that stuff.
One for the ages.
Thank you, John, so much.
No,
it's
thank
really
you,
great
Scotty.
stuff.
It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, man. And I'll be picking up a copy myself. And have you got anything coming up that you want to tell people to look out for? Have you got any projects in the works?
Yeah. I've got The Dead Remember. What do you think of that title?
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
I do. Originally, it was called Pleasant Valley. I go, come on, this is a horror film. It's about skinwalkers.
Yeah.
So an underused monster, and I'm really excited about that. And that'll be after the first of the year. And then I have this other film called Wrath, and it's very evocative of some of the more cool aspects of the Halloween legend, but it's a cool monster witch movie.
Oh, very cool.
And it's almost like The Witch's Jaws along the coastline of California back in the 80s. So it's certainly got a kind of the 80s kind of freaky horror vibe, like what's the big show now on what is it, the Netflix Strange Behavior? Is that what
Strange
it is?
Things. Stranger Things.
Stranger Things,
yeah.
Exactly. Oh, no, Strange Behavior is a great 80s movie. I lied. That was retitled something else. Although Strange Behavior is not a bad title either. Oh, I'm digressing. But, yes, and so we are with a particular, the Horror Film Fund, I believe it is, and I think we're on one of the top projects. It's a $3 million low-budget horror flick, but I would be directing that, and I've been developing the script with a cool writer named Alex Sosin, and here you go. And of course, for The Dead Remember, a buddy of mine who was an actor in Hostel Part 3, Rich Ronay, wrote this really cool skinwalker movie called The Dead Remember. So lots of stuff, and we'll just see exactly what happens first and how it all shakes down. But thank you for asking. I really appreciate that.
Oh, that's all good, man. So look, you've got my contact information. When those movies come out, we'd love a chance to review them and talk to you about them again and get some promotion out there and stuff. So if that's at all possible, let us know.
Oh, that'd be great, and I'd love to if you want to do that. Look, I remember one time when I was like 14, it's like, oh, that movie stuck. I go, I'm 14 years old in a Sam Kinison way. Like, what do you expect? Spielberg here? Get out of here. But, it's fun to see with retrospect of like, oh, that's what Bruce was doing in 1973. There you go.
Oh, no, it's awesome. Great. I will do that, sir. I will be in touch. And, let's, when your movies come out next year, let's talk again. But thanks ever so much for your time today, man. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, John.
All right, take care and have a great night.
Okay, man.
Okay, so that was the absolutely fantastic Scott Spiegel. Wasn't that a great conversation? I hope you all enjoyed that. Don't forget to check out his super8shorts.com. That's the number 8, so super8shorts.com. If you want to pick up those early films of his and Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi and stuff, that is a great package. Definitely go check that out. And also, if you love all things Evil Dead, then please do head over to aftermoviediner.com, where we have spoken to Bruce Campbell, we've spoken to Ted Raimi, we've spoken to Tom Sullivan, we've spoken to the ladies of the Evil Dead. There are some great conversations on our site, aftermoviediner.com, for all things Evil Dead, as well as articles, reviews, and more. Do check it out. Thanks ever so much for listening, and have a great week.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.